Let me read to you once again our main text, Exodus 15:22. We're talking about life of health, okay? Then Moses led Israel on from the Red Sea, and they went out the wilderness of Shur. They journeyed for 3 days in the wilderness without finding water. They came to Marah, but they could not drink the water at Marah because it was bitter. That is why it was named Marah. The people grumbled to Moses, "What are we going to drink?" So he cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree. Then he threw it into the water. The water became drinkable. The Lord made a statute and ordinance for them at Marah, and he tested them there. He said, "If you will carefully obey the Lord your God, do what is right in his sight, pay attention to his commands, and keep all his statutes, I will not inflict any illnesses on you that I inflicted on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you." Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 date palms, and they camped there by the water. We emphasized this morning the water in Marah that the Lord cleansed, and it became drinkable, which means when they found the water, it was not drinkable. And so the question we asked this morning is, what are you drinking? And we were looking at some of the health items that we need to observe, like it's actually useless to pray for somebody to get healed if their lifestyle is very unhealthy. And so we asked the question, how are you living? And we found out that the food that were prohibited in the Bible from being eaten is because they are not healthy for you. It's an amazing thing that today, one of the multi-billion-dollar industry in the U.S. is actually on food products. We have people, I mean, a lot of people now are eating Lunchables, you know. Joseph, they're driving back to Ohio. That boy, one time he was picking up from this store. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, my meal. Those are Lunchables, you know. He's spending, I thought, so much money. I said, "For what?" And I think it was James. I guess Joseph could no longer handle it. So when James was, I think with John, when they were visiting him, forcing them, "Eat this." Oh, James is there. And James, "Do you like the taste?" You cannot answer. Huh? To my recollection, they don't like the taste. You like the taste? And so we revert back to that. Now we have survival food like powdered egg that will last for 50 years, something like that. Powdered meat that will last for some. How in the world are you going to eat those things? You know, I think I can eat corned beef and sardines, but those things are tasteless. You know. But we have surrendered to this now. We are going back to the health food, and so now you have organic food. And people are going crazy about organic food because they thought they ate junk food for 50 years, and they can eat organic food for 1 year, and it will be really enough. No, you still have the garbage in your body, you know, and all of those things. In the scriptures, when God forbade them from eating certain food, it is because they are not healthy. That's a modern translation. They are not healthy. And today we are going back to that. They say the best diet today is what they call as Daniel's diet or the Levitical diet. Rick Warren, you know, Rick Warren is big. The guy could not sleep. He's sick. He's under maintenance medication. And he found out that he's getting fat, you know. The book that he wrote, Purpose-Driven Life. Is that Life or Church? Life. He wrote it overnight. Yeah. He wrote that thing overnight. And I think revised it or edit it himself for 2 weeks. And he came up with a book. And he was telling us, I could not sleep. He said, I could not sleep, and I literally woke up, stay up one night and wrote the whole book, one sitting, overnight, finished the book, and then edited for 2 weeks, came up with purpose-driven life. And then you know what happened is, I was mentioning this today, we have to heal or get rid of our oppressive relationships. When you are into an oppressive relationship, that is not healthy for you. By the way, one of the ways by which you can test yourself, whether you are having such an unhealthy relationship, is you are carrying on a conversation with a person who's not there. You know how when you're very afraid, you end up talking to somebody. Somebody, are you talking with somebody? Oh no, you are actually. You're imagining you are confronting the person that you have an oppressive or unhealthy relationship with, and you start carrying out this conversation with them. Sometimes you're very angry, you know. Get out of here. And then the moment you see the person, you cannot talk. That's a very unhealthy relationship. It will increase your heartbeat and raise your blood pressure. And so one of the things that God said in the Old Testament is this. For example, when it comes to marriage, marry those who are among you. Same faith. Well, because can you imagine these people that are married with different faith? Now, I'm not against interracial marriage. I believe there's nothing wrong with that. But interfaith marriage, when you date or marry somebody who's not of the same faith or the same persuasion, can you imagine some of these Western women who are married to Islamic people, and here in the West they dress freely, and then suddenly they go to the Middle East and they cover themselves with sackcloth. I don't know how you call those. Huh? They become ninjas, you know. And you cannot see except their eyes. In the West, you are buying your shoes, you're enjoying good weather, and then you cannot even talk. Yeah, that's very oppressive. That's why when you have a and it happens even among Christians. If married couples, there are Christians with very unhealthy relationship with their Christian spouses. They are both born again. They are both, quote unquote, serving the Lord. But it's a very uneven relationship. And one can't express. I mean, have you ever been with somebody wherein they will always shut down your ideas? You say something, that is wrong. Yeah. Can we buy this? No. You will be nervous, you know. You will just be whispering, can I buy that? And you're talking to your children, can I buy that? Because you're afraid you will be heard by your husband or your wife. That's a very unhealthy relationship. The moment you go into a relationship like that, it's oppressive, it shortens your life, you know. And so the holistic approach to life, the wholesomeness of life, wholesome talk, and you will find it in the scriptures, let your conversation be wholesome, that it be seasoned with salt, that it may minister grace to the hearers. Because if you cannot carry on decent conversations, that is very unhealthy. A lot of people are very repressed. Pastor Jithan was sharing to me some of the feedback that he has regarding the meeting I have with the Korean missionaries in the Philippines. Because I basically told the Koreans there, what are you guys doing here? And I told the Filipinos at the same time, get to know these Koreans. And the feedback that he has is, they say, we know that, but nobody is articulating it. The Koreans, when they talk to Filipinos, they are looking at people who are always asking for something. Now, of course, I don't ask them for anything, and so it was refreshing for them. Now, that is a very oppressive relationship also. Can you imagine if every time you approach somebody, you know that person is going to ask for something. You avoid that person. That is oppressive. And so, a part of the health maintenance or healthy lifestyle that we have is to have very wholesome relationships. So, I read to you certain scriptures, and it carries some passages that includes, how do you call this? Healing from infertility. And let me read to you again Deuteronomy. I think I finished Deuteronomy 28. Let me read to you Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. Now, if you faithfully obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all His commands I am giving you today, the Lord your God will put you far above all nations of the earth. We are reading it nations because I guess that's the appropriate translations, but a better translation will be all families. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you. Okay? So can you imagine here, God is saying, if you are faithful, I'm giving you today, the Lord your God will put you far above all nations of the earth. You're above all families of the earth. Not superior, but above. All these blessings will come and overtake you because you obey the Lord your God. You will be blessed in the city, blessed in the country. Your offspring will be blessed, and your land's produce and offspring of your livestock, including the young of your herds and the newborn of your flocks. Your basket and kneading bowl will be blessed. You will be blessed when you come in and blessed when you go out. Can you imagine if you have, I guess all of us has to work on it. I don't know anybody who is worry-free on their children. You know, your children grow up and there is this expectation your kids will grow up and they'll be able to take care of themselves. But how many of us will have that assurance that our kids can take care of themselves? No, I would like to say, well, Joseph can take care of himself. Yeah, I guess, but I guess as a father, there's this, can he really take care of himself? You know. Now he's married, so I'm a little bit more at peace because there's Kayla that can help him take care of himself. But can they really take care of each other? You have this, you know, what if God calls John to Zimbabwe? That's what DJ said. Can John, I guess he will survive, you know. Power to the people, yeah. Can he take care of himself? You know. How DJ, I'm very concerned with DJ. Will she be able to take care of herself? Is her taray enough to ward off the enemies, you know? But you have this feeling. Now, of course, you have peace, but at the same time, look, Abraham was already old, around 127 years old, or maybe more than that. Maybe 170 or something. But Abraham, he could not, he told Eliezer, find a wife for my son. The guy is around, what, 30, 35 years old? Maybe more. And he told Eliezer, can you please find a wife for my son? The guy is old. And Abraham, does he trust Isaac? Yes. But he doesn't have this 100% assurance that Isaac will find a wife that will please Abraham, that is, of the faith. And so now, we know this now because we're old already. We have our children, and then we wonder, will they make the right choice? Can you imagine? I just pity Jay, you know. All girls, Jay, man. You will lose your hair even more, you know. No chance of regrowing your hair. But can you imagine when boys starts going after your daughters? I don't know if you will be able to sleep. You know, but of course he fears God. But there is this thing. Can you imagine Abraham telling Eliezer, look for a wife for my son? But what a blessing it is, for example, when you follow biblical principles, when parents are participants and good input, by the way, in the decision-making of the children, which is biblical, in terms of the choice for their spouses. But a lot of our children now are very proud. You know, they think their parents could not help them in the choice of their spouse. That's all pride. But the wisdom is lost, you see. And so now you have this, I told you this Egyptologist that we went with. And so he told me, you're Filipino? I said, yeah. I said, I think my daughter or my son is married to a Filipino. I said, really? They asked, what church they go to? And his face just fell down. I said, yeah, that's the problem. They go to the Catholic church now. I said, what happened? You're born again. Yeah, I know, but my child married a Catholic. Now they're going to a Catholic church. And he said this to me actually. He said, and that is my dilemma. That is my problem. My child is not going to a place where his faith could be fed. Now this is the #1 Egyptologist in the world. Have written books. At a certain point, he was the most respected Egyptologist in the world. Could not manage to lead his child to marry right. Now, can you imagine the kind of apprehension and worry, sickness that is going on through his head? Now, let me continue reading this to you. You will be blessed. I think I read it already, right? Yeah. Did I read verse 3 already? Oh, verse 7. The Lord will cause the enemies who rise up against you to be defeated before you. They will march out against you from one direction, but flee from you in 7 directions. That means complete defeat. The Lord will grant you a blessing on your barns and on everything you do. He will bless you in the land the Lord your God is giving you. The Lord will establish you as His holy people, as He swore to you, if you obey the commands of the Lord your God and walk in His ways. Then all the peoples of the earth will see that you bear the Lord's name, and they will stand in awe of you. You know how we sing the song, in awe of you, right? Now look at this. God says, your enemies will be in awe of you. Your enemies will look at you and, whew. Remember Johnny Cochran? There was a case in Chicago, a police officer shot by mistake a young boy. And so the mother sued the city of Chicago for something like $200 million. The family was wise. So what they did was hired Johnny Cochran. Now, Johnny Cochran just came off a victorious legal battle on behalf of O.J. Simpson. And so this young district attorney wanted to fire out with Johnny Cochran in the courts of law. But Johnny Cochran puts his fear on these lawyers. He landed. The lawyer is insisting, I'll fight him in the courts. And the district attorney says, no, you're not. We don't want to lose more money. And so Johnny Cochran landed. He was met by the opposing lawyer and shake hand for a negotiable amount of money. And I think they were able to negotiate for $164 million. And so Johnny Cochran landed by the afternoon, shook hand for a $164 million deal, and then that night went and celebrated in a bar in Chicago. He was bragging. He said, in less than 20 minutes, $164 million. The fear, his opponents, he stands in awe of him. And that is God's will for us. You know how an intimidated Christian, an easily intimidated Christian, is not walking in the will of God. You know, it takes a while for God sometimes to rebuild. You are easily intimidated because your soul is broken. That's not healthy. You know, what do you owe anybody that you should? But a broken soul is like that. You cannot stand your ground. You cannot stand for what is right. You cannot even do what is right, even though in your mind you think you know what is right. but your soul is broken. And so when your soul is broken, you are easily intimidated. And there are people, I have met tons of people like that. I was one of those before, but the Lord, of course, healed my soul, and I was freed from that. But some people, they can nobody is in awe of you. You are a prey. You're easily defeated. That is a very unhealthy soul. That's a broken soul. Anybody who has a soul like that will always be under tremendous stress because they cannot. Now, I'm not telling you guys intimidate anybody, but it just comes. Your reputation will precede. You remember when Mike Tyson was the youngest heavyweight champion, never surpassed even to this day, and he'll just go in the courts, and his opponents are shaking. When he got his heavyweight belt, he was asked, because I think it's a 2-rounder. I watched that fight. He was asked, when did you know you win? He said, during handshake in the middle of the ring. He said, I look at my opponent and said, the guy could not even look at me. And said, because he could not even look at me, then I knew I'm the new heavyweight champion. He awed this opponent. Now listen, that is the will of God for us. That we don't intimidate anybody, but the victory that the Lord has been giving to us, makes our enemies in awe of us. This is what it says. And sad to say, most of the time, we are awed by our enemies. And we could not stand our ground. That's why we know what is right, and our soul is too broken to stand for what is right. It's just like a physically sick person. In your mind, you know how to fight, but physically, you're not able. Now, this is different in the area of the soul. You may be physically able, but you're already defeated in your mind. And that is not healthy in the mind of God. The Lord will make you prosper abundantly with the offspring of your livestock and your land's produce in the land the Lord swore to your ancestors to give you. The Lord will open for you his abundant storehouse, the sky to give your land, rain in its season, and to bless all the work of your hands. You will lend to many nations, but you will not borrow. You see, I don't know if you were here last Friday night. My wife and I were computing with the blessing that the Lord has given to us, with some work with the bank. We can bankroll the project in the Philippines. Yeah, I can actually get money and loan money to the ministry so that I can purchase the building. Yeah, and that's when I told you that's how we paid off this building. Yeah, the Lord has blessed us. I knew what's coming. I knew about the possibility of COVID's devastation and being taxed as a church. So I was telling my wife, our building better be paid off. I don't want to concern myself. So I loaned money to this church so that we can pay this off. And of course, the church paid me little by little. But that's one of the blessings that God will give you. You will loan and not borrow. Now that is a process. Okay. Because when you're always borrowing, the Bible says you are a slave to the lender. Every time I read that verse, I keep telling the Lord, please free me from slavery. I don't know how many years my wife and I prayed to be free from debts, but I keep asking, I don't want to be a slave to anybody, because the Bible says you're a slave to the lender, and we're not supposed to be borrowing. But this is one of the blessings that God has for us. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but it's a lifestyle. Do you know that poverty is a state of mind? Some people, even if they have all the resources already, they're just, how do you call it? Poverty-minded. Yeah, poverty-minded. My father was like that. My grandmother was like that. Our island, there are only 2 or 3 sari-sari store. One is owned by my grandmother. She won't go to the bank. Can you imagine her house? The main pillars are made out of bamboo. big bamboo trees. And that is her bank. Yeah, that is her bank. She will not put it in the bank. So my father will ask her, what if it gets burned? No, it will not burn. And then, because it's a small island, you know, if you own a grocery store, sari-sari store, everybody borrows money from you. Almost everybody in our island owes her something, owes her some money. She doesn't have a list. And so my father will ask my grandmother, who owes you money? You're old, you know. You're almost 100 years old. You're going to die. So who owes you money? And she won't tell anybody. Oh, you want to know so you can collect. That kind of poverty-mindedness, you know. I mean, I'll be honest with you. How many of us, we go to our refrigerator, we save food that are already rotten, they are molding, and we say, sayang. That's poverty-minded. Yeah, poverty-minded. Well, I believe, you don't even have faith that God will provide. Well, sayang, I understand all of that. But there comes a point you say, hey, this is too much, you know. You get rid of them. But some people will not get rid of them until, I mean, the challenge to all of you, the Filipinos are plagued with this. How many times have you guys cleaned up your refrigerator and found out on the back of your refrigerator, there's a lot of food there that are molded, rotten, and you won't throw it away? It's poverty mentality. Yeah. Remember the passage in the scriptures that when you harvest, you don't make simot. Sa English of simot. You don't harvest everything. You don't say, oh, sayang, there's one more grain. No, you go through it. But if you have some bundles of harvest and you forgot one, you don't go back to it. That's how liberal God is. I mean, of us will go to our garage and we have tons of materials. We won't throw it away because we may use it. And so you end up stocking up garbage. That's poverty mentality. And you can have money, but poverty-minded. Do you think God is upset with the monkeys in the forest because they could not finish all the banana? Can you imagine God gathering all the monkeys in the jungle? All you monkeys, why did you not finish all the banana? Huh? Who ate this banana? Only half was finished. The other half is on the ground. God doesn't do that. God takes account. Now, granted that Jesus said, gather all the leftovers. I get all of that. But I'm talking about the state of mind. If you're always fighting in your mind, I may starve, that is not very healthy. It will contribute to your sickness. Also, if we will analyze the blessings and the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 29, we need to admit that actually, you look at the blessings. Look at this. Your enemy will attack you one way. And they will flee how many ways? 7 ways. You will plant, right? You're harvesting. Before you can even finish harvesting, it's planting season again. Do you know that that is supernatural? How many times will it happen? Normally, you harvest a couple of days or 1 week, everything is done. But the harvest is so plentiful. They don't have the modern machineries of those days. And they will be farming acres and acres of lands, you know. And it says that before you can even reach the last harvest, they graduate the harvest by when they plant certain crops. Before you can even finish the last harvest, planting season is already beginning on the other end. It will overtake you. That is supernatural. You know, you look at the blessings and the curses in Deuteronomy 28 and 29. They are supernatural. I mean, you look at it this way. You will desire to die, and you will not die. That will be repeated, by the way, in the book of Revelation when the Revelation people will cry to the rocks and say, fall on us. And the rocks will never fall on them. They will get sick, and they'll say, allow us to die instead of suffering this pain, and they will never die. That's supernatural. Yeah, that is supernatural. It's part of the curse. And part of the blessing is, all of these blessings are overtaking you. Don't even think it's because you have the skills to make money. or to have all of these blessings. These are supernatural blessings. Like, I keep telling my wife, because she's the one looking for the buildings, and she'll tell me, we don't have enough money. And I will always remind my wife, I said, Ann, remember this, we don't have the money when we bought our first building. We don't have the money when we bought our first house. And through some financial work of our finance officer, we were able to borrow the money. And I said, we're always able to pay it. And we look at how we were able to pay everything, and it cannot be natural. Because at one time I did not receive a raise for over 10 years. Never get a bonus for over a decade. Yeah. And so you look at that, people will say, wow, that's not right. I never thought of it that way. I have always thought that God is my blessing, that God is my boss. I hope you will understand that God is your boss. I truly believe God is my boss, and my responsibility is to teach the word of the Lord. And so if I just keep on teaching the word of the Lord, I will be paid, so to speak, by my employer. My employer is God. And he used other means. Oh, but it's an amazing thing. Every time we go to the Philippines, my wife will always be able to sell something. And so at one time, her kuya told her, oh, Anna, I forgot to tell you, you made this much money on some of the bags you're selling. And that will be our personal money for the Philippines. And the Lord has always, and the capital that my wife uses on these bags, it's ridiculously low because she's good in looking for this thing. And some people will go crazy working overtime doing this to make the money. I don't need to do that because I have found out to cast all my cares upon Him, and the Lord has always been my provider. So I told my wife all the time, do not ask how much money I have. I said, because if you ask how much money I have, we're not going to buy anything. I said, you ask what the vision is, what God wants. And so I'm telling you, this is, and sometimes in our conversation, my wife will say, this is all you can buy. And I will look at her, what made you think that's all I can buy? You see, that's the natural walks in. The moment you always operate in the natural, you will not be able to walk by faith. Yeah. I told you when we were looking for a house, I drove my wife around. During that time, it's the old year being parked. And she'll say, I like this house. Only for us to find out that's $1 million house. And I'll tell my wife, I'll buy you that. Yeah. And sometimes she'll smile at me, but she likes it when I tell her, I'll buy you that. I don't know where the money is coming from. I will not tell her when I'll buy it. But somehow I have this assurance in my heart that the Lord has always been our provider. And so He will always, He will always provide. That is something that develops as your relationship with God prospers. You have to live that way. Otherwise, we will be buried with the worries of this life. Remember, one of the chokers, if there's a word like that. Is that a word, DJ? One of the chokers of the word in the parable of the seeds is the deceitfulness of riches. At best, wealth is deceitful. Yeah, it gives you a false sense of security. You will say, well, I have plenty. I'm going to party tonight. I'll build me bigger barns because I have plenty. I don't have to worry about anything. And God said to him that night, you fool, tonight I require your life. And that's it. He was dead. You see? Because he did not put his faith in God. He put it in his riches. But this is one of the blessings we have. God wants you and me to live healthy lives. And living healthy lives means that you're able to overcome this worry. I told you about my younger sibling. Supposedly he's got a, how do you call this? Sickness at birth. Do you have it? What's that product? How do you call it? Congenital. He has that since he was born. But it is like dormant. And so my siblings asked the doctor, what made it come out? And the doctor says, well, there are many things, but one of them is intense agony. Now, I know the cause of that agony. That cancer came out of him. It's there, it's suppressed. It's not doing anything to him. We're playing basketball together. He was very active. It wasn't doing anything. It's just like it was held until his soul got broken. It was broken so bad that sickness came out. And it came out in the form of cancer. And it was too late after that. But the doctor says, well, it's just there. There are no signs. How do you call that sickness? That no signs? No signs. How do you call that? Asymptomatic. Asymptomatic. That's a sickness. And he always lived a healthy life. Finished college, got married, always did that. And then it came out. And I'm thinking that the blessings of the Lord, the peace that He gave us, sin brought sickness to this world. And so they have been planted by the devil in our lives. Until he can do something with our soul, break it, and then that holding strength breaks down. That's why we say, oh, that's a mental breakdown. Why do we say it's a mental breakdown? Because you could no longer hold it. That's very unhealthy. But part of the blessing for a healthy life that God gave us, good relationships, good relationships and good family. That's why these are the things that the Lord told us to have and to build. These are priceless things. I told you my number one priority is God. Number two is my wife and my children. Number three is myself. Number four is the ministry. And nobody taught me that. But I just figured it out from the scriptures. And I saw it, and I realized if we live right, if I keep my family right, then it doesn't disqualify me any from the ministry. But can you imagine if I don't take care of my wife, I don't take care of my kids, and they backslid, even if they are already at age, because at a certain point, it's their decision. But even if it's at a certain point, it's already their decision. Can you imagine the mental torment it will give me? Can I really preach? I don't know how many preachers have I heard that. Can I really preach? Can I really minister? That's a mental breakdown. The enemy had planted doubt in your soul, in your mind. And now, how can you minister well when you have this lingering doubt in your mind? And so God wants us to live very healthy lives, be able to work properly, and knowing that, some people are very scared. I may lose my job. Why are you scared to lose your job? You may lose your employment, but you will never lose your livelihood. That's a totally different things. You may lose your employment. It doesn't mean you will no longer eat. It's totally different. Yeah. Because your employment is just one of the means that God uses to provide. But it's not the only means. God can provide from the ravens of the skies and make sure that you're well fed. I mean, our kids, they're well fed even before they have jobs, Now I only have, James has, how much job you have? 1/4 job, But he's already making a little bit of money. But he eats more than he can earn, I think. Right? I mean, that boy, we drive through Chick-fil-A. Some people order one item. He orders 3. I don't know where in the world did he put it. I mean, he can work 1 week, and that will not be enough for him to pay for it. But he doesn't even worry, He doesn't even worry. Papa, can I buy this? Well, you live in my house. You eat in my house, Soon, he's going to have a full-time job, so will Joel have a job, but eating is never a subject matter, because working is just one of the means that God used, but it's not the only means. Now, can you imagine if you learn how to live by faith, knowing that nobody can threaten you, nobody can say I'll fire you or I'll take away your job. Nobody can do that, and you will always live at peace, living by faith. Now. All of these are supernatural. Now, going back to the concept of the ancient Semitic gods and goddesses, they have weaknesses, and these gods can be attacked. Like, maybe you have seen the movie, The Gods of Egypt. Is there no movie like that? You never saw it. There's a movie like that, right? There is, right? Gods of Egypt. What are these gods doing? Fighting each other. They bleed. They can die. They can lose their power. That's the ancient gods. They have weaknesses. But God doesn't have any weakness. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 28. Do you not know, have you not heard, the Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the whole earth. He never becomes faint or weary. There is no limit to his understanding. Now this is a direct attack to the Semitic gods, especially the gods of Egypt. Remember in that movie, one of the gods of Egypt is the God of wisdom. And he runs out of wisdom, you know. God says, I never run out of understanding. Psalm 121 verse 4. Indeed, the protector of Israel does not slumber or sleep. You know one of the most dangerous jobs in the Philippines? Anybody want to guess? That when the enemy attacks, you die first. Security guard. Of all people. Have you seen those security guards? That's one of the most, I wish they can hear this sermon, you know. It's one of the most pitiful jobs that you can ever find. I'm not talking about here, but in the Philippines. These security guards are holding their shotguns, falling asleep. So when the enemy attacks, they're the first one to die. Because they're not ready for anything. It's a very boring job. And if you hire a security guard, you begin to wonder, can the security guard protect me? Most of the time, your answer is no, it cannot protect me. Then why are you hiring? You don't know why you're hiring. But who's this? Pastor Abner says, you buy it for peace of mind. Although the person who's guarding you, look at that person, man, the guard looks malnourished, you know. It looks like when the enemy attacks, he's the one who needs help. You feel like you hear shooting, bam, bam. You ask, hey, guard, are you okay? It's the other way around. The guard should be asking you, hey, boss, are you okay? But you'll be asking the guard, are you okay? Because it looks like he has never eaten in days. And so they die first. But look at here. It says, your protector does not sleep. That's an amazing thing. It gives you peace of mind. Your protector. But Brother Will was telling me about one of his drivers before. He has a threat from the Communist Party in the Philippines. It was just split. And so, you know, Brother Willie can be crazy. I think most of the time he's crazy, you know. So he heard that there is a threat on his line. So he said, I'm not doing anything. So he decided to see the boss, the big boss. He went to the mountains, I think in Pampanga. He wants to see the head of the Communist Party after Joma season. And he told his driver, okay, you stay here, and I'll keep going to the boss. And he told his driver, and his driver was loyal to him, if you hear gunshots, run. You know, just run, drive away from here, save your life. And he said, his driver started crying. No, boss, I will not leave you. Because his driver was very loyal to him. But can you imagine God says, I'll be your protector. I don't sleep. I keep my eyes open. Well, it doesn't mean I don't sleep. Well, you can be not sleeping, but your attention is somewhere else. When it says I don't sleep, it means I keep an eye on you. And you'll find these passages in the book of Psalms. I watch over you. You see? He doesn't sleep because he watches over you. God is watching over us. Amen? I always have to console myself on that one. My children will be, DJ will be driving. I have to believe that God watches over. She has the most damaged bumper in the history of bumpers. You know, it doesn't matter. It's still your car. You know, have you seen John drives? You have to. If I'm Catholic, I'll always be doing this while he's driving. You know, thank God I've been saved. But these people, you know how when somebody is driving, you're not driving, you're in the passenger seat, but your foot is stepping on the invisible pedal. What are you stepping on? Brake! Well, you don't have the brakes. But sometimes I feel that way. Most of the time. I feel that way when John is driving. I have to pretend I'm sleeping so that I'll have peace. But I could not sleep either. Oh, when James drives, it's the same, you know. And in the middle of the day, they'll be calling, Papa. It depends. If James calls Papa, it's good news. But Papa, somebody died, you know. Well, now, what is it this time? And he will proceed to say, you know what happened to my car? Did it total or something, you know? But you have to believe. We cannot, no matter how you love somebody, you cannot watch over them 100%. You can only do so much. You have to have the faith that the protector of our family watches over us. I have to believe that, you know. Before, I will never send my wife to drive by herself. I have difficulty trusting my wife to drive by herself. Whenever I have her drive for me, I do it by faith. But the way my wife drives is the same as John, you know. You have to step on the brakes, even if you don't have the brakes. But now she drives by herself. And sometimes she'll be buying some items, her merchandise that she's selling. Where are you going on? I'll be going here. I said, that's almost outside. You know. Sometimes she'll go not only on the south side, but on the south side of the south side, you know. That is, and she'll go, hey, Ann, it's already 8 p.m. I'm okay, I'm okay. You have to call her. And the worst person to call is my wife. She loses her phone all the time. And so she will not be answering for a while. So, what's going on, you know? If you don't put your faith in God, you will not be able to rest easy. But somehow, we have to believe that the protector of our soul watches over us. Now, the moment we develop that, then that becomes a totally different lifestyle. It makes for a healthy lifestyle. Now, having said that, let's jump a little bit. This idea of, in light of all of that, a healthy lifestyle. Now let's understand. I will not read all, but let's understand the passages in Deuteronomy 28 and 29, blessings and curses. You know, we normally look at the blessings and curses as blessings and curses. Actually, you should interpret that from the context of how you're living your life. Okay? Everything boils down to how are you living your life by faith. What's the use, for example, if you worship God and you don't know how to appropriate the blessings of the Lord? You know, some people scream, hallelujah, praise the Lord all the time. They could not believe God for a cent. So what's the use of having a God like that? It's just like religion. So you should look at the idea of blessings and curses from the perspective of how we are living our lives. Sickness and terminal disease most definitely are seen in the Old Testament as a result or as a curse of disobedience. When a person is always laden with sickness and disease, especially terminal disease, in the Old Testament, I'm not talking about today, in the Old Testament, they are always looked upon as a result of a curse. That's why you will find in the scriptures when something negative is happening, like Job, they are immediately asking God, what happened? And look at the arguments of Job. If you are a modern man, you may not understand it because it looks it looks like it's full of pride. But Job is arguing, Lord, can you please talk to me? What's going on? Don't I offer you sacrifices? Don't I help the poor? Because what he was saying is, there is no basis for this. You see, that's how practical faith is. Job is saying, to the limitations of what I know about your word, I obey. When an orphan is in need, I give him food. When a widow is in need, I gave her something. I help people start their business with a capital. I do good. And by the way, when my kids do something which I thought is questionable, I offer sacrifice. Now, why is this happening? That is a faith conversation. Because he was holding God to His word. Lord, you're supposed to be protecting me. What happened? Now, he's not accusing God. He was just saying, can you please talk to me? Explain what went on. Okay? Explain what went on. At the end, God did not explain. He just simply talked to Job, and that was enough for Job to have peace in his heart. But there is always this equation. If something like a terminal sickness happens to me, it's a result of a curse. If all of these negative things are happening in my life, God's favor is not on me. Now, I don't know why we don't look at it that way today. Favor is favor. When somebody is favorably disposed towards you, blessings follow. You know, if a woman is being pursued by a man, the man gives gifts, that's favor. Okay? You know, something is up. Well, the same thing with God. If God loves me, if God favors me, that favor translates into what will be useful for me in my daily life. And so if one negative event after the other takes place, you begin to have to be honest with the Lord. Lord, what's going on? I don't understand this. By the way, that's how I pray. If you know, I suffered some pain because of some pinched nerves, so I keep asking God, what is going on? And I will even tell the Lord, I do my best to exercise, to strengthen my muscles. And when a physical therapist tells me, well, some of your muscles are not strong enough, and they were pointing to my leg muscles, and I was telling myself, my strength is on my legs. I grew up with strong legs. And so I keep wondering, what's going on? You try to find out the spiritual reasons behind what's happening in your life. Why? Because I can be disobedient. You know, is there something that displeases the Lord? Or is this an attack from the enemy? Because sometimes, like Job, you can be inflicted with some sickness, with some signs of misfortune, and all it is there is a spiritual warfare going on, and you became the center of it. You know, Satan decided to attack you, and he received permission from the Lord. Why in the world did he receive permission from the Lord? I don't know. But this is one of the items that you have to ask God for. And Job was saying, I did this, I did that. You know, recently with some of the diagnosis of the doctor, I was praying to the Lord and saying, Lord, you know, I do my best to eat healthy. I really do. My food consumption, I think, except for my dessert, right? But my wife is my dietitian, and she will tell me 2 or 3 times a week salmon. We eat a lot of vegetables and fruits and all of those things. And so I have to ask God. I said, Lord, I eat healthy. This is not supposed to be happening. And you can ask God that. And the Lord will certainly make it known to you. Because if you are following the word of the Lord, there is no reason for a lot of things that are happening in our lives to be happening. Unless there is a spiritual reason behind it. Now, here is some of the summary. In biblical outlook, like I was telling you this morning, if you start a business and you have been starting a business 10 times, and every time you start a business, it goes bankrupt, then you have to ask yourself, am I meant to own my own business? Or am I meant to be an employee? Like, for example, one of the richest men on earth in the Old Testament is Joseph. He doesn't own a business. You guys realize that, right? He was a slave. He was a caretaker. He was very prosperous. I mean, if he wants to build a new house, he can build a new house. But he was a slave. He was never a business owner. He was an employee. And there are some people who prosper that way. If everybody will be an employer, who will be an employee? So there is a room for everything. And so, when you keep doing something, you're obedient to the Lord, and it's not working, you have to ask God, because it worries you. You know, you have to ask God. I keep encouraging people before. I said, hey, listen, I use myself as an example. If you can't afford a house, I said, buy a rundown house like I did, and build it yourself. You know, and so we have a member here. They have money, and they were always in counseling with me. And I began to realize this guy doesn't know business. And so I was very concerned now. I was telling myself, Man, if he has no business, the contractors will just take advantage of him. And so I asked him, how do you plan to build your house? He said, well, Pastor said, I'm going to be like you. I said, what do you mean? I'm going to build the house myself. I'm going to buy an old house. In fact, I'm bidding on an old house right now. He said, I'm going to build it. So I asked him, are you a carpenter? And he said, no, I'm not. I said, then don't do this. I said, because you will end up wasting more money. But he is not a good business person, meaning he could not say no. You know how you know you're not a good business person? If you know that the contract is bad, but you still sign it. Yeah. You will never see me sign a bad contract. Yeah. If a contract is bad, I will not sign it. Oh, nakakahiya. I don't have that. If the contract is bad, I will not sign it. Or my wife will kill me. We will not buy something that is not good business. Some people, why did you buy that? Ah, nahihiya ako. Then you're not a good business person. Might as well not start a business. Because if a simple decision like, I'm selling you peanuts, and you know this is a bad peanut, and you still buy it, then you're not a good business person. Because if you cannot negotiate for peanuts, what else when you're negotiating for something else? So I told this guy, hey, listen. I said, how much money do you have? And he told me how much money. Yes, I said, hey, listen, if you will spend $100,000 more, I said, you can buy, because during the time it was recession, you can buy a very decent house. You don't need to do anything. He said, yeah, but I like to be like you. I said, but you're not like me. I said, no, I'm discouraging him. I said, you're not a carpenter. You don't know how to build. I said, spend an extra $100,000 and you will have a very good house. He did not listen to me. He did not listen. He left the church, and the last thing I heard, they have been spending tons of money. This contractor, in a time of recession, was having a feast day on him, just charging him left and right. He could not say no. By the way, have you ever been in that situation where you know it's a bad contract? You keep paying. Why do you keep paying? Well, I know it's bad. Why do you keep paying? Walk away. So I can have to walk away. It's a friend. Then you're not good for business. You'll probably lose money. Because business is like that. If you don't like it, walk away from it. But if you cannot even walk away from as easy as that, then you can't possibly own it. And now this is the problem. You make bad investment and you can't walk away. You cannot sleep at night then. You become unhealthy. You see? All of this contributes to that. That's why you have to look at the blessings and curses in the light of how you're living your life. Look at some of the curses in the biblical outlook. Destructive maladies are a curse. Yeah. As I was telling you, when sin came, death came. And as a result, sickness came. You know. One of the promises of the Lord is for us to live a long life. It's a quality life, not just long. Painful, wasting diseases are terrible afflictions. Some people, have you seen people get inflicted with sickness and they're just wasting away? We have met friends before, they're very stocky, they're very healthy. And then we were visiting a patient one time. So Ann and I went to the hospital because we received a call that one of our old friends was sick, so requesting for a visit. So we went to visit. And we were told by the front desk, this is the room. We went to the room. We walked out right away. Yeah. We went to the room. And the moment we walked in, I said, oops, wrong room. We walked out. Went to the front desk. I said, we're looking for this patient. And they said, well, this is the room number. I said, we went there. And the person is not there. And then the nurse in the desk said, but he is there. I said, okay, we'll go back. So we went back. He is really there. We could not recognize the person. The disease ate him up. Yeah. You could not recognize the person. Now, granted, I have not seen the person in years, but you know, even if you have not seen the person in years, you still recognize. I still recognize my brothers and sisters, but the deterioration was so much. That's part of the curse. Yeah, it's part of what you call as the wasting away. And that's not good. Yeah. And so all sickness can be healed and can be arrested. We have to fight for it, you know. Health is good. Illness is bad. There are debilitating sickness and plagues that are signs of God's anger, not His pleasure. The 10 plagues of Egypt, they are signs of His disapproval. So when people say, well, I'm suffering sickness for the glory of God, that is not part of God's words or God's or theology. Yeah. You will not find it in the Torah. You will not find, oh, I'm getting sick for the glory of God. No, you will find in the New Testament, these things happen for the glory of God. Well, that's a bad translation. These things happen, but this will result in the glory of God. Is a more likely translation, meaning God can turn it around for good and for the glorification of God. But then here there are sickness that just waste a person away. What about sickness, for example, that eats up body parts? You watch things like that, and it's pitiful to watch, especially those resulting from infections. And so when you say, well, I'm suffering sickness for the glory of God, that is not an Old Testament theology. You will be hard-pressed to prove it to me. You will not find it in the Bible, because God's will is for us to live whole. So in light of that, then what are the promises of God we can look at? Well, for a healthy lifestyle or life. Number one, God promised us long life. Say long life. Again, when I say long life, it's a quality life. What's the use of living long life if you live up to 100 years, but the last 50 years, you're always in pain? That's not a quality life. Long life promised to us is a wholesome life. It's a prosperous life. It's a healthy life. Now, after the fall, the human body, you will notice, we begin to deteriorate and degenerate. By the way, I have seen some of my old friends in the Philippines. When we were young, full of hair, like me, you know. If you see some of my old pictures, I have thick hair. And my kids joke with me. They said, they call me Afropino, you know, because I have thick hair. I look at the mirror now, that hair is gone. You know. Some of my friends, though, in the Philippines, not only did their hair thin, they lost their hair. They become bald. And so you wonder what happened. Well, it's a deterioration of the human body. As we age, we begin to degenerate. There's nothing that you can do about it. Say, for example, if we don't see each other anymore for the next 20 years, and say I'm still alive, DJ will be very different. Yeah. She will no longer be she will no longer look like this. John will be different. Maybe your metabolism is slowed down. You lost something like 70 pounds, right? Well, his metabolism must have slowed down already. And I don't know how much weight he will gain or how much weight he will lose. But which is? It's the degeneration of the human body. Look at your skin, by the way, especially the older ones. You know, when you're young, at least Filipinos, you know, they will look at the mirror, look at the skin. Malasutla. What is that in English? I don't know the English. But it is very descriptive of a very beautiful skin. You touch, by the way, touch the skin of a baby. I mean, how do you call that? Fresh. I mean, you just, baby nga, younger looking pa talaga. But have you noticed the skin of a baby? Man, it's super, how do you call it? Supple? Super supple. I've never heard of a thing like that. Super supple. And then it gets older, right? And then it gets exposed in the sun. Nagiging balut. It breaks, right? First time I came to the U.S., I don't know the difference between, well, there's no winter in the Philippines. It's always you spit, it floods. Uh, I mean, maybe you guys use lotion in the Philippines. I never use lotion in the Philippines. Human sweat is the best moisturizer. And so I came here, my skin began to, I was concerned. I'll scratch my skin, it becomes, it whitens. It becomes like a snake skin. So I was wondering, what's going on with my skin? And I was so ignorant. I came from the Philippines, so I was beginning to ask myself, did I disobey God or something? Is this leprosy or something? Because I was scratching all white. And I will be covering it like this. Until one day, my host looked at me and said, Jose, I said, why? Are you using lotion? I said, what's that for? He said, your skin will dry up so bad, it will be itchy, and it will be like a snake skin. And I said, oh, that's why. But it deteriorates, So now, you guys who are getting older, it doesn't matter what you do. Your skin deteriorates. You can. By the way, if you do it so much, one day you will look like Nancy Pelosi, I like the picture that Gutfeld always show, the eyebrows like that, and that's all that moves. Yeah, but it's like that. Yeah. But when you are young, it's balasukla. Yeah. And you like touching a young skin. But when it's old, you like slapping it. Yeah. I mean, there's no more. Who cares? You're old. You say that. And then, have you smelled a newborn child? There's something so attractive regarding the smell. You get old. Amoy lupa ka na, di ba? So that's what happened. This guy, maybe you have heard of Hanegraaff, one of the authors that are very famous, I think, in the 80s. He once said, aging is the primary sickness of humanity. Aging is the primary sickness of humanity. It is inescapable. Unless the Lord glorifies our body, we all age. And this is, by the way, one of the reasons why Sarah laughed when confronted with the prophecy that 1 year from now, you'll be cradling your baby. Why? She's old. I mean, who will not laugh? So from time to time, I will joke in missions. Well, even here, if my wife wakes up one morning and she's vomiting, I'll tell, oh, what's wrong with Mama? Is she sick? I said, she's pregnant. And my kids will say, ooh. Well, because, can you imagine a 60-year-old woman getting pregnant? I mean, well, I can't imagine that. That is hard to imagine. Yeah. Because getting pregnant is only for a certain age. Yeah. But as I was saying, this is one of the reasons why Sarah laughed. I am old. I am 90 years old, she said. At the age of 90, I can just imagine how many times, I mean, when she was young, perhaps Abraham will kiss her a lot. But at the age of 90, do you think Abraham kissed her every day? Well, I don't know. Let's not go there, My wife is here. Now in Genesis 18, it says, verse 11, Abraham and Sarah were old and getting on in years. Sarah had passed, look at this, Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. So she laughed to herself. She was not laughing at God. She laughed to herself, after I'm worn out and my Lord is old, will I have delight? She was not laughing at God. She was laughing at herself. She looked at her body. And I'm old, I'm dried up. It is really funny. By the way, when IVF became very popular, one of the rules that they have is not everybody can have IVF. I think there's an age limit because it becomes unreasonable. Say you are 70 years old and you went for IVF, if that is possible. Can you imagine you're 72 years old, you have a king, and you're pregnant? You know, that doesn't look right. But that's why in the IVF community, they have an age limit. At a certain age, you can no longer have that. I know because one of the things that happened is in Hungary, there is this retired teacher. I think she was something like 72 or 64 years old. And she lied about her age. She was the oldest woman at that time to get pregnant through IVF. And they were wondering, what is going to happen? The child will grow old. At the age of 10, she is almost ready to die. And they're saying it's not fair for a child. You see, Sarah laughed. I'm 90 years old and you're telling me next year I'm going to be holding my baby? That is extremely funny. Isaac, by the way, in his old age, his eyes failed. Yeah, I always, you know, my doctor will always say, I have 20/20 vision, and my kids laugh. But that's what the doctor always tells me. Sir, you have 20/20 vision. Well, how come I could not see properly? Wear and tear. All of my siblings, they all wear glasses now. There was a time we don't wear glasses. But it turned out, for example, my youngest sister is in her late 40s. My youngest brother is 50 years old. We're all getting old. And your body deteriorates. That's part of, Hanegraaff says, sickness, you know. However, one could enjoy a full, long life. This is what Abraham experienced. So some people in the Bible, they really defy aging. Abraham is one of those. It has to be supernatural. Look at this. Genesis 25:7. This is the length of Abraham's life. 175 years. He took his last breath and died at a good old age. Old and contented, and he was gathered to his people. Old and contented. Do you ever find an old person contented? Old people, have you seen a smiling old person? Have you greeted an old person? Oh, you have a smiling face. An old person, even if he wants to smile, he thinks he's smiling, but he doesn't look like he's smiling. And they're old, they complain. Hey, let's go. Wait. And they, you know, and everything is, I mean, you have to be very careful with old people because you don't touch them properly. The bones may disengage, you know. And you have to be very careful. You're practicing extra care. That's part of aging. But here, it says here, he died at good old age, contented. To be old and content, 175 years old. Are you happy, Abraham? Yes, very happy. How happy? I just had my last child. Remember after Sarah died, this old man immediately got married. What's the name of that girl? Keturah, right? And have children. Wonder what happened to Abraham, you know. He doesn't even use Viagra in those days. There were no Viagras, yeah. But the guy had children. No wonder he was contented, you know, and 175 years old. And there is a passage that his eyes did not grow dim. Isaac's eyes grew dim, but not Abraham. He was already old, and he can still see clearly. So, longevity is linked to covenantal blessing of obedience. You will enjoy long life as you obey the word of the Lord your God. Look at this, Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Honor your father and your mother so that you may have a long life in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. And again, I told you long life is, the long life in the Bible as a blessing from the Lord is associated with the enjoyment of life, fullness of life. So now, one of the blessings that we have is if we honor our parents, we will enjoy our life on earth. Amen. If you don't honor your parents, you may get old but never enjoy your life. You know, my mother used to complain to me when I was in the Philippines. She said, "How come, Jose, when your kuya or your sister fights with me, they don't talk to me right away?" Because me, I'm not a person who, I'm not, I just don't harbor bitterness. So my mother will beat me up, and I will cry and uh, cry myself to sleep. And I will wake up. The moment I wake up, I don't say, well, my mother beat me up earlier. No, the moment I wake up from sleeping, I'll go to my mother. I'll be the first one to talk to my mother. That's just me. And so my mother asked me when I was already married, why do you do that? I don't have the heart to harbor bitterness against my parents. You know, because of that, one of the blessings that the Lord promised me is I will live a long life. Meaning, not only will I live long, I will enjoy my life. You know, that's why me and my wife, we do our best to bless my mother. When her mom was still alive, we always bless her mom also. Why? Because that's part of the blessing. You you honor your parents, and I told you already that honor your parents is the same word as honorarium. You give them. I mean, your parents are old. They could no longer work like before. It's about time the children, the next generation, support their parents. But if you're already old and you're still supporting your kids, that is not good. By the way, that's not only good for you, that's not good for your children. Because then your children are not honoring the parents. They will never come to a full enjoyment of their life. Why? Because that's one of the blessings, a covenantal blessing. You will enjoy when you obey the word of the Lord. Deuteronomy 5:16, honor your father and your mother as the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live long, so that you may prosper in the land the Lord your God is giving you. If you take on the responsibility, for example, of making sure that your old or aging parents are blessed, God will bless you. One time, who's this? Well, one of my siblings died. They need money. They need something like 72,000 pesos. And so they called me. I just received my salary. It's all spent already. And so I got a call, and my sibling were telling me, Kuya, we need money to bury our brother. I said, how much? This is something like 700,000. And I don't have the money. But of course, my mother was worried, and I don't want her to worry. So I said to my siblings, I can pay for that. We don't have the money, but I said, I can pay for that. I said, but not right now. I said, give me a couple of weeks. I was thinking, when I got my salary, I'll be able to pay. I said, give me a couple of weeks. I said, I'll come up with the money. But I said, not right now. I said, is there somebody there that you can borrow the money from? I said, yeah. I said, borrow the money, I guarantee it. And the blessing of the Lord is when I made that commitment, in a couple of days, I had the money. Yeah. Without asking anybody, some people heard that my brother died, and so they want to help. I came up with the money right away. So I have the money to bury my brother. And so I called my sister right away. Hey, I have the money. Do you want me to wire it? I said, no, the money is not needed right now. But that takes away the worry from my mother. That I was very conscious. You know, when you do that, when you do something like that for your aging parents, that's a blessing. That's a blessing. And the Lord promised that He will lengthen, give you a long life. You will enjoy it. To be a disobedient child is a curse. Yeah, it's listen, I have my kids here, so I'm not saying that because they're here. Do your utmost. Do not give your parents a heartache. Yeah, don't do that. Now remember, me personally, I have seen my parents suffer as we were being raised. I mean, they suffered a lot. You know, I used to go with my mother when she'll be working for other people. She was a lavandera and doing all kinds of stuff. I mean, because of the suffering that they went through, I don't have the heart to be bitter against them. There comes a point, the Bible talks about this, relief comes from the Lord. And there comes a time that relief has to come. I was counseling a couple at one time. They offended their parents. And so they called me. Pastor said, what should we do? And I asked, and then what happened? And clearly it was the parents' fault. Yeah. The parents were in error. So maybe they were going to listen. I was going to tell them, don't worry, I'm going to talk to your parents. That's what I gathered they were expecting from me. But clearly it was the mistake of the parents. And so I said, well, from your story, it seems like your parents did not do right this time, right? Yeah, Pastor said. No, they didn't care. Yeah, Pastor said. My parents did not do right. How old are your parents? Oh, so my dad is 70 plus. My mom is also 70 plus. Oh, I said, they're old. I said, how old are you guys? And they're pretty young. They're just starting their family. Pastor said, what should we do? I said, this is what you will do. I said, you'll go to your parents and you will beg for forgiveness. And they said to me, what? I said, you will beg for forgiveness. But Pastor said, you said it yourself. It's their fault. I said, I know. But that is not what we were discussing. I said, you will beg for their forgiveness. And they asked me why. I said, that's what young men do for the old people. Yeah. I mean, you will notice this when your parents get old. They have a certain pride and dignity. That's all they have. Don't destroy it. It's no longer, I told them, it's no longer the issue of who is right or who is wrong, but what is the right thing to do. And the right thing to do, I said, is your parents are about to die. I mean, over 70 years old, how many more years are they waiting for? I said, they're about to die. I said, do not send their head to the grave in grief. I said, go to your parents and apologize. Yeah, but Pastor said, you said they're, I know. I said, one day, I said, you will do wrong to your children when you're old. And I said, remember this day. If you do this right, one day, you will do wrong to your kids, but they will humble themselves because you're old, and they will also apologize. I've noticed this among old people. They don't like begging. And when an old person begs, there is something, how do I phrase it? There is something very unjust about it. I know. If a young person begs, it's understandable, like the person is young. Oh, but when an old person begs, there's a sense of injustice. Why is this old person begging? They don't deserve it. They pay their dues. Cut them some slacks. They don't deserve. They're already old, and you want to humiliate them. And in the Bible, the parents are not always right. But there comes a point you bear it. Because you're young. You can handle it. I'm 62 right now. If one of my kids hit me and I fall to the ground, it will hurt me. My body can no longer handle it. But I can slap John and he can handle it. Right, John? He can handle it. His body can handle it. His physical, especially if he's not married yet, but his body can handle it. I can slap him upside down and he will recover fast. I will not be able to recover fast. Yeah. Because you abuse my body, this body will no longer, when I was young, I will recover fast, but no longer now. Therefore, understanding that it's no longer an issue of who is right or wrong. It's the issue of what is the right thing to do. In Asia, we have a saying, we say, hey, give me my face. This is normally what old people will say. Give me my face. Don't don't let me go down the grave humiliated. Because my dignity is the only thing I have. That's why, listen, this generation that we have, lessons I'm prophesied about it, that's why our people are no longer having a quality of life. Because the anarchy and the lawlessness and the disrespect to parents is causing so much chaos. The youth will never enjoy their lives. Yeah. If, and by the way, you don't have to prophesy about it. That's just the law that the Lord has said. If you are disrespectful to your parents, especially when they're old, you will never enjoy your life. Because God looks at these aging parents with kindness. And he understands, he knows the suffering of these parents. And so he doesn't want them going down. That's why you will not tolerate sin, you will never tolerate evil, but there comes a point you wink at it. Yeah, my dad is wrong. Yeah, my mom is wrong. Leave it alone. And sometimes the young people will say, I'll cover it, I'll cover it. Somebody pressure, I'll cover it. Leave my parents alone. They are old. When you do that, there is a blessing and a certain quality of life that God will bless you with. That is appropriate for that. We have lost that in this generation. That's why a lot of young people today will never enjoy their lives, because one of the things they're guilty of is they are very disrespectful and they have humiliated their parents. Now we have a lot of young people here. Remember those words. Remember those words. Do not humiliate your parents. They are old. One of these days, and you don't know how long, one of these days, God will call them home. And when they are already lying down in their casket, don't be crying, saying, oh, I love my parents. Don't do that. They can no longer hear you, The time to show love for your parents is now. And with that comes the blessing of long life. Amen.